Last year, Elon Musk SpaceX smashed its existing yearly space rocket milestone, and it plans to increase the scorching pace even more in 2022 to once every weekday on aggregate. According to Sandra Magnus, a member of a key NASA agency inspection board of trustees, the commercial business plans to launch 52 missions this year. Following a plenary session, Sandra Magnus of NASA's Aerospace Safety Advisory Panel noted, "That's an astounding pace." SpaceX successfully performed 31 flights in 2021, which broke their milestone of 26 flights from 2020. Last year, SpaceX accounted for nearly a fifth of all accomplished orbital rocket launches worldwide, with the business matching up with China. Following 3 consecutive Falcon 9 launches so far this year, and 2 more anticipated even before the end of the month, the corporation is already on a weekly average pace to start the year. SpaceX has 4 Falcon Heavy rockets slated for launch in 2022, in addition to its Falcon 9 launches. SpaceX's ability to partially reuse its Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy rockets by landing rocket components and collecting each half of the nose cone following launches has been a crucial component of the company's quick launching tempo. SpaceX, which is controlled by Elon Musk, has launched 48 more Starlink internet satellites into orbit. On March 9, 2022, a Falcon 9 rocket launched from Florida in the United States and assisted in the placement of the small satellites a few days later. The first stage of the rocket then returned to Earth, landing safely on a SpaceX drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. It was SpaceX's 10th launch in 10 weeks, each carrying the same amount of satellites. According to SpaceX, the goal of deploying these satellites is to deliver low-latency, high-speed broadband internet in locations where connectivity is spotty or non-existent. In low Earth orbit, these spacecraft form a massive constellation known as Starlink. More than 2,000 of these satellites have previously been launched by SpaceX. Many more will most likely be installed later this year. Up to 12,000 Starlink satellites can be launched by SpaceX. Musk tweeted, "Again, 48 Starlinks recently arrived in space," along with a video of the launch, which I'll show you after this script. While Musk touts Starlink as a mission to connect the entire Earth, his ambition raises concerns about space congestion and orbital debris. For a second-generation constellation, SpaceX has already applied for permission to launch 30,000 satellites. The Falcon 9 rocket, the world's first orbital-class rocket capable of reflight, has been used for the majority of SpaceX's flights. In June 2010, the rocket flew for the first time. Reusing the Falcon 9 lowers the cost of flights for SpaceX and provides possibilities for firms seeking access to space. Nevertheless, this project has lately seen some hurdles. Due to an electromagnetic disturbance in February, SpaceX lost approximately a complete shipment of Starlink spacecraft, which prompted numerous of them to fall from space and burn up in Earth's atmosphere upon re-entry. Around low deployment altitudes, these storms warm the atmosphere and increase air density. SpaceX has increased its deployment heights in the future to avoid such mishaps. The Falcon 9 rocket that launched on Friday has already completed 8 earlier Starlink flights, lofted a SiriusXM satellite, launched a Canadian RadarSat mission, and powered NASA's Demo 2 mission to the International Space Station. The launcher will land on the drone ship after putting the upper stage and satellites into orbit. This is SpaceX's 11th launch of 2022 and the 8th Starlink mission of the year. Elon Musk claimed in February of 2022 that he was very sure that his new SpaceX Starship, which is aimed at missions to the Moon and Mars, would enter Earth orbit for the first time this year, despite a slew of technical and legal challenges. At his company's Starbase facility in Boca Chica, Texas, the billionaire SpaceX founder and CEO addressed a swarm of news journalists and supporters for a presentation that blended a high-tech pep rally with big-screen videos and a question-and-answer session. Musk noted that constructing the Raptor 2 engines for SpaceX's Super Heavy rocket has been difficult. A reusable next-generation launch booster would be designed to deliver the Starship spacecraft to orbit. He noted issues with extreme heat melting inside the thruster chambers of the engines. "We're near to fixing it," he said, adding that he expects to expand productivity levels to around 7 or 8 engines per week and to create a new Starship and booster every month by the end of the year. "At this point, I'm very sure that we'll go to orbit with the Starship this year," said Musk. Even for an uncrewed orbital test flight of the Super Heavy Starship combo, the next step up from SpaceX's current workhorse Falcon 9 rocket, which Musk claims have flown 144 successful launches and 106 return landings, such a schedule would be ambitious. However, the Federal Aviation Administration is currently conducting an environmental study of the Boca Chica test flight and manufacturing facility, which is located near the southeastern Gulf Coast tip of Texas. The FAA is likely to decide in the next weeks whether a planned build-out there would have a substantial environmental impact on the area, including a nearby wildlife reserve, and, as a result, would require a much more thorough investigation before expanding operations. After being hit by a solar storm, SpaceX's newest fleet of satellites is sliding out of orbit. According to a business update posted online Tuesday night, up to 40 of the 49 tiny satellites launched last week have either re-entered the atmosphere and burned up, or are on the approach of doing so. Last Friday's geomagnetic storm made the atmosphere denser, increasing the drag on the Starlink satellites and effectively dooming them, according to SpaceX. Ground controllers attempted to salvage the small, flat-panel satellites by putting them into a state of hibernation and flying them in such a way that they would generate the least amount of drag. According to the business, the satellites were unable to awaken and climb to a higher, more stable orbit due to the strong air drag. Nearly 2,000 Starlink satellites are still orbiting Earth, providing internet service to far-flung parts of the globe. They orbit the globe more than 340 miles above, or 550 kilometers. The satellites that were impacted by the solar storm were only in orbit for a short time. SpaceX places them in this unusually low orbit to ensure that any failures re-enter the atmosphere swiftly and pose no threat to other missions. According to the business, these recently launched satellites pose no threat in space or on the ground. Each satellite weighs less than 575 pounds, or 260 kilograms. The missing satellites were described by SpaceX as a one-of-a-kind scenario. Intense solar activity, such as flares, can send streamers of plasma from the sun's corona hurtling out into space and toward Earth, causing geomagnetic storms. Elon Musk has envisioned a constellation of thousands of satellites to boost internet access after launching the first Starlink satellites in 2019. Following the devastating volcanic eruption and tsunami, SpaceX is attempting to restore internet service to Tonga via this network. OneWeb, situated in London, has its internet satellites in orbit. Later this year, Amazon wants to begin launching its satellites. Astronomers are concerned that these mega constellations will interfere with Earth's nighttime observations. The International Astronomical Union is establishing a new facility to protect the night sky. Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla Inc., warned on Sunday, March 14th, that the electric automobile and his rocket company SpaceX are facing substantial inflationary pressures in raw materials and logistics. Musk also asked about the outlook for inflation in a tweet, noting that his companies are not alone, retweeting an article claiming that the Russian crisis had pushed commodities prices to their highest level since 2008. The invasion of Ukraine by Russia is driving up the cost of metals used in automobiles, from aluminum in bodywork to palladium in catalytic converters to high-grade nickel in electric vehicle batteries, and drivers are set to bear the brunt of the cost. While Western sanctions have not yet targeted metallurgy, some transporters and motor manufacturers are avoiding Russian products, adding to the strain on automakers who are already dealing with a microchip scarcity and increasing electricity prices. Be sure to check out our next video.